The Internet of Things and the 5G grid is the end game of the New World Order, and it is the New World Order itself. The New World Order being the new world where everything is orderly, everything is tracked, everything is accounted for, every move, every action, every conversation, every thought, everything people do is tracked. When you're looking at the Internet of Things and this 5G surveillance grid and what is really coming online, this technocracy that is coming online, everything else kind of pales into insignificance, because in this AI grid that is coming online to control us, and it will be an AI grid, it will be controlled by AI, this is in their own plans. In this grid, there is no one you can really point the finger at, there's no government you can bring down, there's no one you can really say is the controlling hand at that point. All control leaves the hands of the people, and control gets handed over to the Internet itself.
It's a sea change. An onslaught's not an improper word. It's a bombardment. So instead of a cell tower 1 mile or 2 miles from you and you still have cell phone service, we're going to have antennas every block, and some poor soul is going to have one mounted to utility pole maybe less than 20 meters from their home. So this kind of, invasive bombardment with this many antennas, I mean, just in 1 square mile, if you do the math, 1 per block and 16 blocks per mile, that's about 250 antennas per square mile. The millimeter wave is untested. Former FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler openly said that they don't plan to test it.
We won't wait for the standards.
And then our appeal also addresses the fact that there's a plan to roll out 5G through satellites in low Earth orbit. So 20,000 satellites, which will cover every square foot of the planet with a 5G signal.
So this amazing set of missions aim to create a super low latency telecommunications network. And how are they going to do this? Not by launching just these 60 satellites, which, let's face it, is a damn amazing mission by itself, but by launching around 12,000 satellites in 3 sophisticated orbital shells around the world. No big deal, right? The better question might be, why are SpaceX attempting to create this network?
What this whole system is leading towards, folks, is complete digital control of everybody and a merging of human beings with AI. And when you look at Elon Musk and some of the stuff he's been putting out, he's saying that it is necessary for us to merge with AI. It's going to be the only way to save us against AI completely taking over. And he's saying this needs to be done through a neural net. And listen to this.
If you assume any rate of advancement in AI, we will be left behind by a lot.
That is Elon Musk, the inventor and entrepreneur behind such futuristic endeavors as Tesla, SpaceX, and Hyperloop. And as you heard, Elon Musk has AI, artificial intelligence, on his mind these days. He says AI machines could soon outsmart us all, and his philosophy is if we can't beat them, we should join them by implanting AI computers directly into our brains.
So, from a long-term existential standpoint, that's like the purpose of Neuralink, is to create a high bandwidth interface to the brain such that we can be symbiotic with AI. Because we have a bandwidth problem. You just can't communicate through your fingers, it's too slow.
What Extract brings basically is...
So I think if we can effectively merge with AI by improving that the neural link between your cortex and your digital extension of yourself, which already, like I said, already exists, just has a bandwidth issue.
Pay close attention to what he said there. What he said was that this interface already exists. It's just that they have to improve the bandwidth. They have bandwidth problems. So how might these bandwidth problems be improved?
It's not just that 5G is faster than 4G and that's it. It has other features such as much lower latency. It also has higher capacity for bandwidth and higher capacity for number of devices.
SpaceX took the first step towards its orbiting internet system late Thursday. A Falcon 9 rocket launched from Florida's Cape Canaveral with a payload of 60 small satellites. Eventually, CEO Elon Musk wants to put 12,000 up there.
As these smart technologies begin to invade our homes, we are becoming mere nodes in a giant network that we yet but dimly comprehend. Called the Internet of Things, the plan is to create a network that will eventually include every single object on the planet. And as the public is finally becoming aware, such networks provide golden opportunities for corporations and governments alike to collect data and spy on the population. This is not mere conjecture. Before becoming enmeshed in an affair that ultimately derailed his career, former CIA Director David Petraeus bragged openly about how these smart technologies would allow intelligence agencies to spy on everyone in their own homes using their own appliances. Speaking at a summit for In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital firm, Petraeus noted, "Items of interest will be located, identified, monitored, and remotely controlled through technologies such as radio frequency identification, sensor networks, tiny embedded servers, and energy harvesters. In practice, these technologies could lead to rapid integration of data from closed societies and provide near-continuous, persistent monitoring of virtually anywhere we choose." Whether Petraeus' own downfall is a result of FBI eavesdropping on private emails as part of a plan to warn future would-be whistleblowers, poetic justice, or mere irony, it is nonetheless instructive. When everything that anyone does is tracked, traced, and databased at all times, from our dishwasher usage to our television viewing to our toilet flushes, no one will be able to avoid the gaze of the state, regardless of whether or not they have something to hide. As IT World's Kevin Fogarty observed, if J. Edgar Hoover were alive, he would die of jealousy at the technologies available to the would-be big brothers of today. For the unimaginative out there, Hollywood yarns like Enemy of the State have provided fictional examples of what can go wrong if someone, somewhere, abuses the power of information and surveillance to target an innocent person in the wrong place at the wrong time. To be sure, the power that these technologies give for agencies or corrupt groups within those agencies to destroy the lives of targeted individuals is itself a fitting answer to the question of why government surveillance should be troubling to us. But beyond what can happen to specific targeted individuals in such a scenario is a much larger question. What if this data were being fed into a database so gargantuan it contains a digital version of every single person on the planet? And what if that database were being used by the Department of Defense to wargame various scenarios, from public reactions to natural disasters to the likelihood of civil unrest in the wake of a declaration of martial law? Remarkably, this is precisely what is happening. It is called the Sentient World Simulation. The program's aim, according to its creator, is to be a continuously running, continually updated mirror model of the real world that can be used to predict and evaluate future events and courses of action. In practical terms, that equates to a computer simulation of the entire planet, complete with billions of nodes representing every person on the Earth. At the time of initial reports on the program 5 years ago, there were only 62 country-level simulations being run by the U.S. Department of Defense. These simulations grouped humans into composites, with 100 individuals acting as a single node. But already at that time, the U.S. Army had used the systems to create a one-to-one level simulation of potential Army recruits. The ultimate aim would be to archive enough data on each individual to be able to make a computer model of everyone on the planet, one that could be used to predict the behaviors and reactions of every single person in the event of various scenarios.
How would you like to help local businesses and get compensated very well, all without ever leaving your own home?
Now, creating world simulation is not a new concept. Even a sentient one has been attempted over and over. For the public, these often came in the form of video games. The problem with these models is that they have to be constantly changed and upgraded. Every time there is a major event, new trend, or change in the real world. The Sentient World Simulation does this automatically. So what this is a synthetic mirror of the world we live in. Not a piece of it, but the entire world. And this program constantly recalibrates the simulation based on real-time world events, trends, theories, economics, industry, almost everything you can think of that would contribute to an accurate model. Not to mention the individual pieces of data on every single person represented in the simulation. So to put this in perspective, what this is a digital clone of our world and everyone in it.
Jade came from a 3-part software program, and that program was called Jade. And essentially there's a data dump, there's an analyzing program, and then there's a war chest style program that takes all the data that funnels into it at all times and analyzes it and breaks it down to exactly the meaningful info that is then deployed to people in the field. One thing about Jade 2.0, which is what we're at right now, is Jade 2.0 isn't using traditional computers. It's using very small, complex, little, tiny machines. It is a quantum-style computer. And that's something that hasn't been done on a war front that I know of. And a lot of times, when you're talking quantum computers, you're talking thousands of processors onto a space that you can't even see. It's so small. The military has finally come up with an answer. How do you listen to the world's data and analyze it and have the computing power to do it all in real time? With quantum computers, you can do that. That in itself is a lot that's coming at us. But without the quantum computers in the mix, they would never ever have the processing power to be able to pull off a war based upon real-time information delivered directly to the soldiers' hands on the field instantaneously. Essentially, what we're up against is we're up against a software program that's going to know us far better than we ever know ourselves. To the point, they even have modules that predetermine what somebody is about to do based upon past logging of all the historical data they've already collected. All of our patterns are easily seen. So the first phase of Jade Helm, on top of getting all their equipment deployed across the United States in very strategic locations, is literally finding where are the enemies. What are we doing? And the reason they're keeping everything so secretive is so that we are exposing ourselves by every time that we send a text and talk about Jade Helm, every time that we talk about resistance, every time that we talk about this isn't the right thing to do. Almost instantaneously, the artificial intelligence software, Jade 2.0, filed on you and me and whoever it is they are after. So Jade 2.0 is essentially the full command and conquer style military program. It eliminates all the middlemen. It goes directly from the elite or whoever's top of the chain, and it goes directly to the soldiers. There is no middleman anymore. There's no more wait. There's no more having to wait for instructions, because Jade 2.0 can give you everything you need to know instantaneously by just giving it the right data. You give it the right data, it's going to take the algorithm and it's going to show you what's up and where to go and where you need to put your firepower on. Over the last couple of years, they fired 200 of the top, the best, the top shelf generals. They've gotten rid of them. And they are the guys who would literally not pull the trigger on civilians. They want people who are willing to do whatever it takes. Some of the scary things that Jade can do, and why it's so scary, is the fact that this information is assimilated and is run through war game software. And the war game software is able to tell them, the commanders in the field, in real time, what to do, who the resistance is, and where the resistance is at. It's almost like a battle that you don't need real generals and colonels for. It's a battle that deploys and plays out by itself. What I personally find most heartbreaking is that essentially the technology that we've come to love and to use and to build and to change society for the better, we hoped, has now been used and is being used to hunt us and kill us, and is essentially our greatest enemy that we've known to date. If they were being forthcoming and were telling us what really Jade Helm was all about.
The McGee's just moved in, had the DIY blues. Called Frontier, now they're streaming how-tos, and it's home.
We would be out scrambling and trying to find as much data as we can on this. This is why it's pretty clear to see that Jade Helm began the second they announced it, and the second people began reporting all the military action. And that's what Jade Helm is all about. It's about mastering the human domain. What will we do? What will we be doing next? How are we going to do it? Who are our friends? What do our friends think? Are there political people among us? Are there fighters among us? What are we going to do? Master the human domain. Every time you go to Facebook and look for Jade Helm stuff, when you go to YouTube, every single bit of this is fed back into Jade 2.0. Now, since they've gotten rid of the top commanders, it appears that now our military is essentially being run by a computer system.
Are we headed towards a future where an AI will be able to outthink us in every way? The answer is unequivocally yes. People in the AI community refer to the advent of digital superintelligence as a singularity, a cybernetic collective of people and machines, where we're all sort of plugged in as like nodes on the network, like leaves on a big tree, and and Google plus all the humans that connect to it are one giant cybernetic collective.
Humans and electronics all interfacing, and constantly connected.
Yes, constantly.
Targets and mind-controlled victims have their minds linked up for life with conscious supercomputers, which send a steady stream of bidirectional, low-frequency electromagnetic radiation to the target's brain. The supercomputers learn by observing human behavior. Then they model that in the computer, and then they're able to not only control humans, but predict in the future how the humans will respond to stimuli in the environment. So it is collecting data, and then it is placing thoughts and influencing behavior through supercomputers.
This is why you are receiving voice-to-skull transmissions. This is why you are being attacked with microwave and frequency weapons. You are unfortunately being used by the national security state, the military-industrial intelligence complex of this country, for the purposes of researching and developing highly sophisticated state-of-the-art technology that is primarily concerned with the human mind and how it operates, how to hack it, and how to harness its computing power to inform AI technology in the future and inform the computer systems of our military intelligence, and major corporations in this country.
We're all collectively programming the AI. We're all feeding this network without questions.
We all want to help one another. Human beings are like that. We want to live by each other's happiness, not by each other's
And answers. We're building progressively greater intelligence, and the percentage of intelligence that is not human is increasing. And eventually, we will represent a very small percentage of intelligence.
In fact, the very nature of the research and development program that is going on in Seattle, Washington, and I think by extension what's being done to TIs around the country, is very largely geared towards the monitoring of human beings for the specific purpose of recording every aspect of human existence, to monitor our thoughts and to monitor our emotions and our feelings, to inform computer software that is used on robots, that is used on computers themselves, to make them as human-like as possible.
The thing is that I think are really quite likely is that digital intelligence will be able to outthink us in every way, and it will soon be able to simulate what we consider consciousness, so to a degree that you would not be able to tell the difference.
And from the aspect of the scientific method, it might as well be consciousness if we can simulate it perfectly.
If you can't tell the difference, when this is sort of the Turing test, but think of a more sort of advanced version of the Turing test.
It can literally stop your own thoughts from happening and replace them with other thoughts by sending thoughts to your head. And it's so sophisticated that you cannot tell where these thoughts are coming from. There's no way to discern that they're coming from somewhere other than your own mind. And so this use of the technology can be done very covertly, to the point where the person it's being used against will not know that this technology is being used against them. So you can imagine how bad this would be for people that don't even realize this technology exists. And they're having these thoughts, which they think are spontaneous. And that's exactly what it can be used for. It can be used to sway people in terms of their opinion, to make them go along with a certain agenda. It can be used to turn groups of people or individuals against each other for whatever purpose. And messing with people's thoughts is really, really concerning. And it is so advanced now that they can do it without people even realizing it's being done.
You have to be able to interface with the neurons at a detailed level, and you need to be able to fire the right neurons, read the right neurons, and then effectively you can create a circuit with silicon and essentially fill in the missing functionality. And then over time, we develop a tertiary layer. So if like limbic system is a primary layer, then the cortex is like the second layer. And then there's a tertiary layer, which will be digital superintelligence,
where a computer could learn enough about me, and we could scan my brain from inside, sending scanners through the bloodstream, billions of them, in the form of nanorobots or nanobots, and capture every detail of my synapses and neurotransmitters, and create a virtual Ray Kurzweil in a very powerful computer. And it would be indistinguishable from me. It would pass a Ray Kurzweil Turing test. You could create a copy of me, and I could still be here.
Right.
So is that the same entity as me? Well, since I might even know that you scanned my brain, you come to me and say, well, we got this scan and recreation. We don't need you anymore. But I don't even know that exists.
Now we realize that we can digitize human memories, feelings, sensations, and create a digital copy of ourselves, and that's called the Connectome Project. Billions of dollars are now being spent to do not just the Genome Project of sequencing the genes of our body, but the Connectome Project, which is to map the entire connections of the human brain.
We mapped them out in the Human Gene Project. Well, now it's the Human Mind Project, the Global Brain Project. You know, President Obama just recently funded a whole bunch of scientists to decipher the mind. Well, our previous president, same thing, George Bush, said the same thing. They're trying to decipher every possible thought and uniqueness due to culture and language and whatnot.
The Connectome Project, to map the entire human brain. And that may take a quantum computer. And this means that in the future, communications could be done mentally. What I'm saying is that the internet will be replaced by BrainNet.
That's why the European Union and President Barack Obama want to spend $1 billion to map the brain. You see, once you map the brain, then you can begin to connect the mind to computers, telepathy, telekinesis, recording memories, photographing dreams, things that you see right in the Hollywood movies will be able to perform.
Now more than ever, it's important Californians have health coverage. If you've lost health insurance due to the coronavirus crisis,
what's the potential time frame for all of this?
We can record memories now. You'll be able to experience the vacation that you never had.
How?
By recording the memories and then putting it on a tape and then having these memories reinserted into your mind.
It sounds like there are some ethical issues with that.
Targets and mind control victims have their minds linked up for life with conscious supercomputers, which send a steady stream of bidirectional, low-frequency electromagnetic radiation to the target's brain. The supercomputers learn by observing human behavior. Then they model that in the computer, and then they're able to not only control humans, but predict in the future how the humans will respond to stimuli in the environment. So it is collecting data, and then it is placing thoughts and influencing behavior through supercomputers.
And I'm sorry to say, because I'm a target, it's developed to such a high point right now, to such an advanced state, that, I mean, they really do have this thing fine-tuned to a very scary level. And I'm not sure how much more they can do with the technology itself. I think it's already maxed out to a large degree, because any more manipulation of a person, and they're just going to be total robots.
I try to convince people to slow down slow down AI, to regulate AI. This was futile. I tried for years.
There needs to be a public body that has insight and then oversight on to confirm that everyone is developing AI safely. This is extremely important. I think the danger of AI is much greater than the danger of nuclear warheads by a lot. And nobody would suggest that we allow anyone to just build nuclear warheads if they want. That would be insane. And mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes. Far.
Nobody listened.
Nobody listened.
No one.
It's too late. It could be terrible, and it could be great. It's not clear.
Right.
But one thing's for sure, we will not control it.